Hey, welcome back to Hidden Grove. We had a lot of great comments and feedback from the last video, so we were wanting to just give you a little bit more of what's going on, some stuff we left out, and touch back on some things that people were really interested in. And since it's summer, there's some different plants alive to see, so we're gonna check those out too. So we're here in the pantry, and like most people's pantry, we have dry goods in here and whatnot, but what's a little bit different about our pantry is that it's loaded with canned goods from the garden. We've got veggie stew from 2018, another veggie stew. We got a bunch of soups here, tomato products, chili, sweet corn, green beans, pickled jalapenos with carrots in it and all that, you name it. Relish, all that stuff is in here. And then we're even storing, like, this is some like 2-year-old mead that we made with our strawberries. And then like seeds are in here. We even have our garlic in here. And this here is apple cider vinegar that we've been brewing. It's been going for like 1.5 years now. And so we fresh pressed our own apple cider, and then we boiled it to where it was 10% potential alcohol. Then we added our own yeast, like champagne yeast from like a brewing store. And then, so you brew alcohol to make vinegar. And so we had hard apple cider at 10% alcohol, and then we added vinegar mother. It kind of looks like a SCOBY that you make kombucha with. You can kind of see the vinegar mother in there floating around. There's one on top as well. But this is actually quite strong now. Too bad we don't have a smell-o-scope. We'd let you smell it. But we also, of course, have dried beans in here that we grew ourselves. And like this is like, you know, a few different varieties or whatever. But some of them are actually good in the green bean stage too, so it's a nice dual function bean for us. We actually have another 5 gallons of apple cider vinegar over there, as you might have already seen. And then, you know, just we kind of hold things in bulk here, like popcorn. One of them's got popcorn in it. These are our loofahs that we grew. So like there's a loofah gourd out there that it's, you know, like any other gourd, it just grows like a crazy vine that wants to take everything over. And then in the fall, when you harvest them and take the skin off and like wash them out and pop them open, put them in the oven, dry them out or whatever, you get a loofah. You can wash dishes with these, wash yourself, you know, like this is the ones the natural sponge you find online. Very cool. You can grow them yourself. We have like bulk salt, pepper, or popcorn. Find the one with popcorn. But yeah, it's a guess anytime you get them. These black beans, kidney beans, we grew them all. White beans too. We don't discriminate out here. We got all the beans. All the beans we got. Colorful group. But yeah, like a pantry, it's a good spot to hang out too. So we also have down here like some hickory nuts that were collected in the fall. And they're one of the hardest nuts to crack. And you never can find them commercially available because they have to be cracked by hand. You can't get a machine to do it for you. It's amazing. But they're so tasty. If you like pecan pies, try hickory nut pie. Now we have like herbal medicine, like this is chamomile, go-to cola, all sorts of dry herbs down here. Be keeping ourselves healthy. And then we even have our own dry herbs, various things, horsetail, hot peppers, burdock root, you know, all sorts of different medicines that we harvested ourselves, wild harvest, whatever, wild medicinals. So as you can tell, this is a wood burning stove, and we've actually added these cool fins, so when we take the Earthship out into space, that will go a little bit faster. Just kidding, checking to see if you're listening. They're just radiating a little bit more heat because the stovepipe gets hot. But this is an insulated stainless steel stovepipe. We do a little bit of cooking on the wood stove, like that burner or that warmer thing still there. And then it just has like a cool glass viewing window. It's nice to sit in front of and whatnot. And it happens to be high efficiency, so double plus. Just over here is like kind of a music room, catch-all room, like kind of a storage thing. Up here used to be somewhat of a bed, and now it's just, you know, like no one wants to climb up there, so that's storage. Got some of my brother's drum equipment here. I play guitar. So I got a little bit of crap here. And then we also took on a piano, just hanging out, just kind of keeping space with us. And I actually right here have some Hidden Growth soap. It's curing up. It'll be ready to cut tomorrow. Just made it with my mom yesterday. And I'll take a look at this. So when they say get on your soapbox, like this is a real soapbox made out of barn wood and all salvaged or whatever, but this here is a turkey bag, like a turkey roasting bag. I don't know. You put them in crock pots to keep from getting all sticky and dirty. But that's what I use to keep, from getting actual barn wood on the soap. But I'll show you some other time how to make this because it's a long process. But this is a Castile recipe. Just has olive oil and coconut oil as the main oils, and there's like castor and butters and all sorts of extra hydrating stuff in there too. Yeah, now my brother's gonna do a quick drum solo just for fun.
Bet y'all thought this was a Make America Great Again hat? Wrong. Boji's mustard. That's how we make America great.
So this is our little utility tower. Up above we have our water, and then down here we have our solar module, at least the battery, the charge controller, and inverter. So basically energy comes in to the charge controller, and since it's not super consistent, so there's clouds and stuff, the charge controller takes the energy and decides where it needs to go. Usually it goes to the batteries, and then from the batteries it will go to the inverter so we can use it in the house. So with this whole array, we have 4 panels on the roof. They're supposed to be producing about 960 watts at peak. And lately we've been having an issue with our batteries, basically. Generally solar batteries this time in technology that we have, you can expect them to last 5 to 10 years, depending on how deep you discharge them, and basically you want to keep them charged most of the time. But these are about 7, almost 8 years old now. We put them in 2011, so yeah, they are 8 years old. But that's usually the drawback of being off-grid. So it's just one of those things that you run into, and that's what we're trying to save up for right now, is to get more batteries. But currently we're running a deep freezer, a small chest deep freezer, fridge that is converted from a deep freezer. I'll show you how that works here in a second. And we run fans, obviously, lights, but we're hoping to run a dehumidifier because the Earth home tends to get a little humid. But that's all in the works. So to the naked eye, this looks like just a little normal chest freezer. And then on the inside, we're using it as a fridge. And we even have some nice blackberries here. So you can tell those are not frozen. But the whole concept of using it like this is that when you open the fridge up, it doesn't let all the cold air out. With a normal fridge, naturally convection, all the cold air falls out. So with this, you open it up just like those chest freezers or whatever. In the store, they leave them open all the time. Well, obviously we're not going to leave it open, but it's much more efficient. So you can open it and the cold air stays down in there generally. And the way that works is an external thermostat controller. It's just this little box right here. But basically it has a line that goes to a thermostat, or a thermometer rather, inside of the freezer. You get to set the temperature however you like, and then you just set it up for fridge temperatures. And the freezer is plugged into the device, and then the device is plugged into power. So this tells the freezer when to turn on and off, rather than the freezer just running nonstop. And then you can get fridge temperatures and save a ton of energy. It's the only way we're able to really have a fridge out here off-grid. So this contraption here is our solar dehydrator, and we're looking at the heating chamber, you could call it here, where it's kind of like a solar oven, this little chamber, and the shiny stuff is insulation, and then we have a screen right here to keep the bugs out, And this just creates like a chimney effect. Everything, the air heats up, it's sucking in air down there, and the hot air is rising to the top like clockwork. So then we put the herbs in this chamber here, which is the drying chamber naturally. And there are more racks below, but we put in racks here. This is some holy basil, I think. Just finished. I mean, it's crunchy. But yeah, it dries out herbs really well. We haven't quite fine-tuned it for drying out fruits and stuff yet, but we tried tomatoes in there, and the humidity has been a problem, but you never know. We also hang bundles from up here, like if we're drying bigger bundles of something, you can just hang them from these in the meantime. We have shredded bars of soap that we made out here. This is Hidden Grove soap, and it's like a bunch of different kinds. It doesn't really matter what kind you use. We're just gonna use this for laundry detergent. So if you take some of this and mix it with borax and soda suds, then you have something that you can use even in high efficiency washing machines and all that good stuff. You want to use like the smallest setting on your cheese grater to get this in as fine pieces as you can. You don't want big chunks in your washing machine, but that's just a good alternative if you're not trying to buy the liquid stuff, or you don't know what to get out there and you're already making your own bar soap, or you got a bar soap that you really like. So it's a good way for us to use up the odds and ends pieces that otherwise are just going to waste. So I'll show you. I'm just finishing up a load of laundry here. I finished some earlier as well, but I got a little soap on my hands. But basically, this is a concrete mixer, and we switched out the blades, which are metal, with wood planks. And like, I'll just turn it on. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you gotta do some work to get it done, but as you can tell, it's kind of doing the same thing in principle. And this was just an idea my dad came up with. I'm sure there are design plans out there for the same type of thing, but yeah, like in concept, it's simple. Then you just have to hand wring them out, whatever. We don't have like a wringer, but good way to get some laundry done with what we have around. So this is an early Fuji apple right here. It's grafted, obviously, and whatnot. The deer have been eating all the lower foliage and whatnot. It has one apple on it right now that I can tell, and it's probably got a couple more, but that's probably an issue of pollination. Between the bees have been dwindling lately, unfortunately, but we've been trying to keep them out here, and also, we probably need another fruit tree out here, another apple tree specifically that blooms at the same time as this one, because we've had a lot of our apple trees go down because deer just love to eat them. So we're down here in the food forest now, near the stage, and this pawpaw is in its 5th year since we put it in fall of 2014. And it was just a teeny sapling when we put it in, and a pawpaw is like a custard apple that's native to southern states and stuff, in case you don't know. But this thing's doing really well, and we just kind of unburied it from all the weeds, and the comfrey that we have growing here, and like the lily helps to kind of compete with the weeds and just give us something beneficial, where the comfrey is actually mining all sorts of beneficial minerals from the deeper soil and bringing them to the surface in the form of their leaves. Then you cut them out and lay them down for mulch. It's like a super beneficial plant. And then it helps to kind of like grow your own mulch and do all that good shit. So I'm super stoked. I just planted a bunch more too.
Hey everybody, it's Andrew from Journey Soup. So I'm really excited because we started that GoFundMe last time and we raised $230. But because you guys did that and so many people asked about Ethan making videos and stuff like this, which me and him have actually talked about, I actually have an extra camera that's a super nice camera, shoots 4K, 60 frames per second. You know, it's definitely a lot more than this, and I'm gonna go ahead and give that to him in the hopes that he really starts a YouTube channel. And I wanna thank you guys once again for donating because it's super cool. And I honestly felt weird about doing a GoFundMe, and honestly, the GoFundMe is still going. Ethan found out about it, but he has no idea I'm about to give this to him. But I already got paid for it, so it went to my bank account, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it to him. So let's go ahead and do this, guys.
This is nuts, dude.
So I want to go ahead, I know we talked about doing some YouTube stuff, so I want to go ahead and give you that camera also.
Sweet,
but you gotta shoot videos for the people, man. Is that cool?
Yeah, I've been wanting to shoot some videos, and you helped me get started on that. And yeah, I mean, I'm like blown away. Thank you, everyone who's contributed, everyone who's interested in the videos that we've done so far with Andrew's help. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands wet, doing some videos, starting my own channel. And yeah, this is nuts because I wanted to start a GoFundMe too, and it's just there's always too many things to do in life anymore. You start to get older, but just on the farm, I've always wanted to do more than I can do, and I wanted to start a GoFundMe for different projects, and to know that when I found out that one existed, like, yeah, it brought tears to my eyes. So thank everybody who was part of it. It's awesome.
Hey guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe down there. I appreciate you guys watching my content, and hopefully you guys will go. I'll put a link in the description for Ethan's channel. When you see this, maybe it's not up yet, but it will be soon. So let's jump back into the video.
So this teepee was gifted to us just recently for ShareFest, and we just set it up the other day. I think he said the poles are 24 feet long. And it's just a real cool place for us to host like our workshops and like any sort of obviously like cool ceremony, sleep in it, you know, whatever. But we just set the thing up, and it's kind of like a cool iconic piece on the hilltop, kind of just back from the stage. So this right here is the Hunab Ku symbol, if you know what that is. More on that later, some other time. So this is an Osage orange tree, and you might be wondering what the hell is that? That's the hardest wood in North America. They drop the hedge balls, it's also known as hedge or hedge apples. So this has been mowed a couple times by the looks of it, why it branched out so many times, but it's growing wild out here. And these are one of those trees that have like really sharp thorns on them. Little spikes, can be kind of hard to tell. Hope you can get that, but yeah, they're mean, you know. But this wood has like a really high oil content, so therefore it doesn't rot. You know, it's the hardest wood in North America, and the old timers used it for fence posts. And like there's still fence posts out here that are 100 years old. You could dig them out of the ground and hit it with a hammer, and it would ting. No joke. Like they call it the ironwood, you know. But it's a great resource, and you can even use it for carving and doing all sorts of stuff. It's a beautiful wood, like it is very orange and yellow. Super nice. But it's kind of funny because the deer can't eat this one, so I just it's too spiky for them. But they've just been chomping on everything else, so I'd take note of that. Appreciate it a little bit. It's growing all on its own. Here in the food forest right by the stage, and most of these trees in here are about 5 years old. This here is a pawpaw. I just wanted to kind of touch on this food forest in general, because in the last video I really breezed over the fact that there's a food forest here. On this side of the stage there are 40 some odd trees, ranging from Antonovka apple, which was planted from seed, to peach that we planted from seed, to these pawpaw, which also planted from seed, to filbert, to chestnut, to persimmon. And there might be a few other in here, a goji berry and a couple other, Juneberry. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here, and we have many other things planted all over the property. the spring before last, the spring of 2016, we planted like 250 hardwood perennials, like food bearing. So it's either a tree or a bush or like a vine, you know, like a kiwi or a grape. We've planted so many things out here, and deer have been the biggest problem of late. They've just been eating everything down to nubs, but luckily this food forest is still in pretty good condition. So I've just been kind of coming through and trying to weed around the little mulch ring and make sure that we have our comfrey growing and whatnot, and trying to gild these things essentially, like a permaculture term called gilding, which basically means you're companion planting these perennials. You have these lilies here that are about to pop these nice flowers, which as a bonus will let pollinators know, hey, come here. There's gonna be more things flowering like these fruit trees before too long. Give them something to do, and it's also just competition for weeds, you know? It's a beneficial plant, and it kind of spreads. And here are comfrey. These ones are kind of young, but I've just planted a bunch more too. And the comfrey is a really cool plant that does really well in clay soils, which we have a lot of clay soil out here. It's very fertile, but it still has a lot of clay. So the comfrey goes deep down into the soil and mines out minerals that the fruit trees otherwise can't get to. And then it deposits them, like you chop the leaves out. Like these plants will end up getting very big and bushy, and we'll show you one that's like mature. And then you chop all the leaves, and the leaves leave all the minerals behind, and it's also mulch. So it's just great because you can't rely on 6 foot tall grass all the time. We've had crazy amounts of rain this spring and summer. But yeah, just kind of bailing these out not too long ago, so they look good now. They've got a little bit more mulch, and the cool thing about mulching them too, it's like you can use anything, you know. Here's comfrey that we put down when we chopped it. Here's some nuts, and see this stuff here, this is mycelium, this white stuff. And that's like the highway system of nutrients and information, like the super highway. It's like the internet of the soil, you know what I mean? Like that's how nutrients exchange, and like it's amazing stuff, you know. It's so to have that mycelium right there feeding on the mulch, kind of breaking down the wood chips, breaking down the nut shells, whatever's here, that is also boosting the soil and just helping everything grow. So like there's multiple benefits to mulching and gilding and whatnot, but just kind of a touch on what's going on here essentially. And yeah, it's a 5-year-old tree, and I'm not 100% on pawpaw from seed, but I think here, judging from the size of it, a few more years and we'll be picking some fruit, so it'll be real nice. So when you can't find me messing around in the pawpaw patch, I'm hanging out with my hazelnuts, my filberts, you know? And the cool thing about these, they actually spread. Like this all started as one little shoot, and like they're just starting to spread. Here's some runners that they're sending out, and like it's just gonna become a bigger and bigger bush. And this thing at 5 years is already producing nuts. So like this is super cool. It's nuts per se. But yeah, I mean it's not done yet, of course. It's not fall yet, but they're putting on nuts and they're like expanding. So that's super exciting because we've had like a lot of mixed results with trees over the years, and we lose a lot, you know, so it's really nice to celebrate when some are doing good. Getting nuts. I'm going nuts. Let's check out this comfrey over here. So here we are with a persimmon tree. If you don't know what a persimmon is, you can look it up, but they're like a orange kind of tomato looking fruit. You can make jams and stuff out of them. They're really cool. And here we have some Egyptian walking multiplier onions. Like up here, it's multiplying on top, and down below they're like a bunching onion. This all started with one plant, with one bulb. So like it's going to seed right now. It's not good for eating these onions at the moment. You can eat these bulbs, but this is like you break these off and they're already trying to grow. So you have 3 more plants, you plant all those, they grow up and they make new seeds on top, and they multiply down below too. So like we started with 20 of these little bulbs, and now we have hundreds of these things, if not thousands. Like, they don't take over all at once, but I purposely propagated and made sure not to pick them for a couple years, but then they flower and produce little ones like and they produce really unusual flowers too. Sometimes they look like an ear. They're great, and to eat them, you grab them up in the early spring. They're like some of the first things coming up, and they're amazing in soups, like chicken noodle soup or any sort of soup coming out of winter, making it with this, like, so savory. And then of course they go off again in the fall. So right now, like, they grow up big, they fall over, and then basically just replant themselves by, you know, the bulbs are right there on the ground when they die and fall over, or, you know, die for the season. But so they're multiplying above and below, and just like, I love onions, so it's like a perfect pair for me. But just another example of plants gilded to, you know, make use of this space for trying to keep weeded and have trees growing in. Alright, y'all, just before the sun goes down, I wanted to show you real quick the cabin. That was like the first little structure that we had out here way back in like 2013, but we'll have to save it for another time. I really appreciate everybody watching this stuff and being interested in it. It's cool to share this stuff with you. I feel like show and tell or whatever. I'm like showing people my toys. I'm like, hey, look at this. So it's fun. Thanks for checking this stuff out, and I just appreciate you. Have a good night.
Stepping on the weekend, got me really thinking. I'm all in my feelings, shit I don't wanna deal with. I'm thinking about your kiss.